Good everyone, my name is Lama Abdullah and today I will be showing you how to sort an array using selection sort. As you can see, I have my include statement, standard input and output. Then I have my main function which have no argument, that is no input. I also have my global variable here which are input, small and swap. Input will be used in collecting users inputs. In how many inputs do you have to sort? Small will hold the value for the first iteration, then it will change anytime it find any smaller value. Then swap will be used in holding the value of any iteration. So let's get into it. I create a new file. I name it sort1.c. Then in my sort1.c, I have my include statement. What do I have to include? Standard input.output. Then I have my main function. Which have no input, that is void. Then I will have my global variables in them. Input, integer of input that I will be using in collecting users input. Then I have my small variable and also my swap variable. So the first thing I would like to do is to prompt the user using the printf statement. And what am I prompting the user on? I'm prompting them on how many value do you have to sort. That's a question, so I'll be followed by a question mark and space. Alright, so I will use scanf to get the user's input, getting the user's input, storing it in a variable. User's input, the input I want to get is an integer, so I use this special character of d. Then I store it in which variable, which is my input variable that I have here. Then after this, what am I to do next is to iterate over the input of the user here, iterate over, then getting each value from the user using a for loop. And how will I do that? Where will I store the value in? I will create an array that I will sort, that I will use in storing my values. But what is the length of this array? It will be my input, the input the user gave to me in the first place. Then I will use my for loop to iterate over and request for the value from the user. Then my code here will be printf value I is, then what value am I putting there? I'm putting I plus 1. What is this going to do for me? I'm going to get users input. I'm going to prompt them and say, okay, value, if according to iteration, I'm starting my iteration with is equal to 0. So this is supposed to be equal to 0, but I'm using 0 plus 1 here, which will tell me that this one is the first input. Is what will I receive here? Then I will use my scanf to receive that from the user. Scanf, I'm storing it in what I'm trying to collect is an integer, so I put it in that. So where am I saving it into? I'm saving it into an array of which index? The index, depending on which index I found myself in while I'm trying to look over this. Then let me print out the area that I have. Printing out the array. Then what will I have? I have a for loop to print out an array, because the computer cannot just look into all the value of an array at a time. It have to iterate over it. So how am I going to do that? Using the printf statement saying that words that digit, and I'm also going to use tab to give some space in between. So what digit am I trying to output, I'm trying to output array of each index that I found myself in, then I can now print the value I have here from the user. Ending this, let me print a new line. Printf. I want to print a new line so that my cursor can move to the next line. I can also use my return value to return 0, but main function should do that for us automatically. So this is the code that I have for now. Let me see the output of this code by running this on the terminal. First of all, let me save my file. Then I run this on the terminal, new terminal. So how do I execute this? First of all, I have to make sure that I'm inside my folder, which is array.sort. I can confirm that if I have my file in it by using this ls command, then it brings out those files that I have. So this one that I'm working on is sort1.c. So I can just use gcc command sort1.c. sort1.c. Okay, so as I can see, it's compiling my code, and since it brings out this, that is, there is no error. Whereas you should be aware that automatically this file will be created for all, which means this is an executable file where my code got compiled in. So to load my code or to run my program, I will have to execute that code, which is ./a.exe. Then I output it. It asks me how many values do I have to sort. I use 5. Then it will ask me for each value. Let me use 12, 6, 3, 78, 13. Okay, so my code is working properly. 12, 6, 3, 78, 13. But this is not what I'm trying to do here. So what I'm trying to do is to sort this value that I've been given by the user, but I've been able to confirm it that I have the value stored in that array. So now, what will I have to do here? I will have to print out each value that I got from the user. And how do I do that? I have to sort them first. Let me use printf statement to indicate that this will be sorted. This is sorted. Then I print a new line followed by that. Okay, so that is my printf statement there. Then I use a for loop to iterate over each occurrence of my array. I store the first occurrence, that is for each index of this. I store it in my small variable using, I'm going to store it in this my small variable. What am I storing there? I'm storing for each index that I come across on using my I, for each index that I loop through in my array. So I store each occurrence. Then I also iterate over again. I use my for statement, iterating over, but here I'm going to be using j. Then j is less than my input. Then j should increment here. Then what will my code be? My code is very simple. It will only say if array of my small, that is for each occurrence in my small, is greater than array of j. That is that if for each of these occurrence, if it is looping through each of my array, then it should check the next value. This one will be, let me initialize this to be not j is equal to 0. This should be j is equal to I, whatever index I have here, plus 1. Then my j should be less than this, because I'm checking for the next value. That is selection sort. I'm checking for the next value. So now my if statement will be if array that is holding for each of this iteration, if that array the value of that array is greater than the next one that follow, because of my initialization here that says I plus 1. So the next value that follows, let me put an array here of sample of let's say I collected an array from user. I comment that and I put it in an array. Let me say the first value is 10, second is 12, third is 2, fourth is 5, and I have 3. So for each of these, what should happen here? If this is greater than this, then something should happen. That is, it should set my small variable to the index of this. That is what I'm going to do here with my code. Then I'm going to say, okay, if that is the case, then my small should now equal to j. And that's all for my loop there. I'll now come back outside this for loop, and I'll ask again that if my j has changed, if my small value has changed, that is, if it is not equal to what I initialize it to be in the first place here, if it is not equal to I, then what should happen? What should happen is that I now use my swap variable to store the value of that small, which is array small. Then I swap each value, array of small should equal to array of I. Then I use array of I should equal to my swap value now. So with this, I think I'm done with my code. Let me execute this so we can see what I have here. I save it, then I use shift, control and backtick to open my terminal window. Then I execute this. Let me hopefully my code function properly. So I'm very certain that I'm inside my folder here. I just have to re-execute what I have my code again using gcc sort1.c. Then I will have my a.exe file updated, so I'll execute my code using this. How many values do you want to sort? I put 5, and the first value is 12, second 45, third 3, fourth 5, 5, and 7 should be 7. Okay, let me see what I have here. I have 3, 5, 7, 12, 45. My array have been sorted. Firstly I have to print out my array here using this print statement before I start to sort my value here. This is just for us to bring it back to life, like, okay, this is the input of the user. That one is working. Then I have to sort my array using this one. So let me put a comment here. This is for sorting array. Array sort array. So that is what I have here. Thank you for watching. Nice to have you here. And if my code have provided with the solution you need, please like and subscribe so you can get more of this from us. Thank you.